I knew prior to being elected as a judge in 2011 that there were families in crisis because of substance abuse, where one or both parents were either alcoholics who could no longer function well enough to take care of their children, or who were abusing substances, whether it was legal drugs or illegal drugs. So as part of my own desire to try to figure out how to address the program, I thought that it would be a really good thing, a good way to serve our community, and a good program to start as a family court judge to try to address the substance abuse and use issue in family court. Because let's face it, parents who are messed up all the time aren't able to take care of their kids. They're not making sure that they're getting to bed on time. Sometimes they're not helping them with homework. Sometimes they're not worried about getting them to school on time. Sometimes they're letting their children stay home. I've heard stories where children have had to stay home and take care of their parents because their parents were too passed out drunk. I had a little girl tell me one time that the reason that she was late to school is because her mom was so depressed that she would drink until she passed out at night. And she couldn't go to school until she knew if her mother was alive. When I heard that story, I knew as a family court system we had to do something. I spoke to our judicial administrator. I spoke to Judge Jules Edwards, to Judge Thomas DePlanche, because the other two judges were actively involved in a drug court. It was run by the seat of our pants at first. My secretary and I ran it out of my office. We did not have clear guidelines at the time because we were inventing it as we went. We could have sat back and studied it for 2 years, but I was very anxious to try to get something started and to see what we could make work. It's been a great success, and it's called Kids First because I used to tell lawyers or parents, you've got to put your children first. It's all about the kids. And so the official name of the program is Kids First, and it's a family court drug intervention or intervention program. And it has made significant impact on families in the Lafayette area. I saw that in cases when I was a judge. I've seen that in cases since I've been back in private practice. And I believe it's one of the better contributions I've made to our community, and certainly I'm proud of the fact that I was able to get that started while I was in family court as a judge, and the fact that it continues through today. Because I work hard and I'm always trying to innovate and come up with different ideas. One of the other problems that I saw in family court is that, and especially in this area, there are a number of people who simply don't have the money for lawyers. They need help with their family situations just as much as anyone else. So I started something that I called Self-Represented Parties Docket, so that people who could not afford lawyers could still receive justice and could still receive guidance on what to do with their children, how to handle support issues in family court. And so I set aside 1 day a month. I think it was 1 day. I may have done it maybe twice a month, but we try to set aside a day just for people who don't have lawyers. One of the reasons that we did that, or that I came up with this idea, is that in a normal courtroom setting, on a normal Lafayette rule day, there can be 40 to 50 cases set to be heard on a single day. And when you think about it, there's no way that you can give that many cases or that many families justice in that limited amount of time. So theoretically, there may be that many cases set, but if anything is going to take longer than a half an hour or an hour of testimony, it just won't happen. But what also slows down those days where there's a big docket is when there are people who are self-represented because they're not lawyers. They don't know the rule of law. They don't know how to ask the proper questions. And sometimes it just slowed everything down. There were many times where people who didn't have lawyers but who had a real need to be in family court couldn't wait around all day. They were afraid they were going to lose their job, and so they would just leave. So at some point, maybe within the first year of becoming a judge, I set this special docket, and anyone who needed help but didn't have a lawyer and that could at least try to file the proper paperwork would come in, and we would try to resolve their problems. It took a little bit longer sometimes because they weren't lawyers, but you simply have to be very patient, sit back and listen. There's a limited amount of guidance that a judge can give them because you're there to help decide the cases. But I thought that it was a good experiment. I had some very positive comments from people who had been before me on this self-represented docket. And again, it was something that I thought was a good service to our community.